Number 25, the Inverted Frontier series by Linda Nagata. The Inverted Frontier series, beginning with Edges, is top-level space opera. Nagata is one of the best authors today, writing space opera with nanotech and other exotic technologies, and looking at how we humans fit into this future world. Edges is set in far future, deep space, and in the early pages of Book 1, Nagata will hook you in with a small cluster of surviving humans reduced to hiding out from alien machines, singularly focused on eradicating them. The series delivers on compelling characters, examination of our standing or relevance in the universe, of course great tech ideas, and a lot of wow, Nagata, yes moments. Number 24 is the Xenogenesis series by Octavia Butler. The series, also known as Lilith's Brood, comprises 3 books: Dawn, Adulthood Rites, and Imago. Butler has created and written incredible alien characters that are rich and layered. The alien Onkali actually feel alien. In Dawn, main character Lilith awakes from a deep sleep on an Onkali ship. Slowly, the blanks all get filled in, most notably that nearly everybody on Earth is dead following a nuclear war 250 years ago. That same war claimed her family, and now she's on this alien vessel with aliens that want to coax her into some kind of gene manipulation shenanigans. As intriguing and brilliant as the series is, it's also dark and disturbing in all the right science fiction type of ways. Number 23 is the Rifters series, The Rifters Universe by Peter Watts. Welcome to the mind of Peter Watts and this magnificent, bleak, post-apocalyptic world at the bottom of the ocean and the shoulder of an active volcano. To be more specific, the central setting is a geothermal energy plant in the vicinity of a geothermal vent. Brilliant in the first book, Starfish, is how Watts takes us to these rifts in the deepness and darkness of the ocean and creates that same feeling that the best space operas give us of being out in the deep void of space. Those at the underwater base have bio and cybernetic enhancements to accommodate deep sea survival, voice modulators, neural inhibitors, vision adapters, and even a modified gill structure instead of a lung. The sequels take a different direction and get even darker, but the full series is breathtaking. If you didn't know, Watts has a PhD in marine biology, so he knows his underwater science. I've had the honor of connecting with Peter Watts over the past few months, and he made a number of cameo appearances on my Top 210 Science Fiction Books episode a few months ago. Among those appearances is a clip of him talking more about Starfish. Check it out. Number 22 is the Blue Ant series by William Gibson. I'm going to try to be more brief with these blurbs so that this doesn't turn into another ridiculously long episode. The Blue Ant series starts with Gibson's pattern recognition. This is set post 9/11 World Trade Center attack, and the main character is an ad exec who's trying to track down the source of some highly impactful video ads. She does this at the behest of the Blue Ant marketing firm. The book and the series are thrilling and filled with paranoia, danger, and mystery, a vibe that resounds throughout the series. Number 21 is the Red series by Linda Nagata. This is the series that introduced me to one of my favorite authors, Linda Nagata. These books are terrific military science fiction. Book 1, The Red First Light, introduces a highly militarized society and a dominant military-industrial complex. The series is a political thriller and features many great edge-of-your-seat battle scenes. Check out my episode, Essential Military Science Fiction, for more on the Red. Number 20 is the Uplift Saga by David Brin. This could be in my top 10, but so could the rest of the top 20. Brin in the series brings to the table a vast galactic civilization, the 5 galaxies, great space opera and chaotic space chases, and the progenitors who uplift species to sentience throughout the universe. There are strings attached. Add this far future, highly philosophical science fiction series to your reading list. Number 19, The Bridge series by William Gibson. I most often recommend Virtual Light when I want to recommend an alternate Gibson novel to those who didn't vibe with Gibson's Neuromancer. This is still cyberpunk with maybe more relatable story elements. Virtual Light, Book 1, much of this story takes place in near-future San Francisco. Gibson predicts a giant geography-altering California earthquake and a United States that has fractured into smaller states. The earthquake separates an area and bridge from the rest of California that becomes sort of an encampment for the homeless and outcasts, and really delivers an interesting socioeconomic examination. The more sexy element of the book are the data-rich virtual light VR glasses that allow the user to experience an altered reality. Number 18, The Mars Trilogy by Kim Stanley Robinson. This series spans nearly 200 years with a primary focus on the colonizing and terraforming of Mars. This is Mars science fiction at its absolute best. This might be the most underrated series on this list. Robinson introduces great characters as well as a riveting look at the relationship between the society on Mars and the increasingly environmentally degraded Earth that was left behind. Number 17 is the Commonwealth Saga by Peter F. Hamilton. The stars of this series are the two books Pandora's Star and Judas Unchained. Sharing the series and the universe are other great Hamilton novels like Mispent Youth and the books of his Void trilogy and his Chronicle of the Fallers series. The Commonwealth Saga is the story of the attack and attempted genocide of humanity at the hands of an alien race. The Commonwealth refers to the organization of planets colonized by humans. I loved Pandora's Star, but Judas Unchained blew me away. It's non-stop, action-packed space opera. Judas Unchained and really the whole series is chock full of political intrigue, murder mystery, awesome alien stuff, wormhole stuff, superb technology, military sci-fi, of course vast space opera, and deep characters. The only reason Pandora's Star is less of a thriller is because it's more like a first half of Judas Unchained and does the heavy lifting of setting up the world building and invests heavily in introducing the main characters. Number 16 is the Hichi Saga by Frederick Pohl. Sporting a diverse cast of characters and psychological themes, the Hichi Saga is great space opera spanning 6 glorious novels. The aliens, the Hichis, they're no longer around, but their spaceports and their spaceships are. Just head on over to their asteroid, hop on a ship, and see where you end up. Maybe it's your lucky day and you end up somewhere cool and find some great alien tech, and boom, you're rich. Maybe you took the wrong ship and you end up dead. Things aren't great in the solar system, so why not take the chance? The premise and setting are very cool. What Book 1 Gateway accomplishes for me is a great psychological profiling and examination of its main character, Robinette Broadband, balanced perfectly with great science fiction. The sequel, Beyond the Blue Event Horizon, almost as good as Gateway, dials up the sense of wonder. I recommend reading the full series. Number 15 is the Remembrance of Earth's Past series by Cixin Liu. When I was compiling this list, I had this initially ranked higher because I loved Book 2, The Dark Forest, and Book 3, Death's End so much. The first book of the series is great, but it definitely doesn't live up to the sequels. What I loved about the three-body problem is the initial setting of the Cultural Revolution in China and the search for extraterrestrial life. The novel is very inventive, and Cixin Liu creatively introduces us to the alien Trisolarans as significant human avatars, think Galileo and Copernicus, in something resembling a virtual reality physics reasoning game. The ideas are strong, though the action is weak. Things do pick up a bit in Book 2. The Dark Forest is a novel with that rare potential to make you question everything that you used to think about First Contact and the search for intelligent life. Death's End, Book 3, might be the most ideas-rich novel that I've read in science fiction. If Book 1 was as strong as the sequels, it would be hard to not have this series in one of the top 3 spots on this list. Number 14, The Zones of Thought by Werner Vinge. A Fire Upon the Deep opens this series with a bang. You'll find it ranked highly on my top 210 science fiction books video. Zones of Thought refers to the increasingly higher levels of speed, advancement, thought, intelligence, and evolution the further you go out from the galactic core. The most advanced beings are likely beyond our comprehension and certainly don't care to be bothered by our curiosities. In the lower zones, there's a battle for dominance on the Tynes world. The Tynes world has a medieval vibe and is host to pack-minded, shared consciousness, dog-like natives. The battle among the Tynes reveal espionage, brutality, revenge, and acceptance themes. Another setting is the space race that some characters are engaged in as they trek from the higher zones to the lower zones in an attempt to thwart the threat from an ancient advanced entity known as the Blight. The also award-winning, also excellent sequel, A Deepness in the Sky, amps up good versus evil themes and introduces even more alien contact. Number 13, the Robot series by Isaac Asimov. When it comes to using non-humans as a means for examining humanity, there's Mary Shelley and Isaac Asimov, and then everybody else. Asimov sets the bar in this regard, and I, Robot and the Robot series stand as one of the most influential series in the history of science fiction. The stories of I, Robot were initially published as short stories in science fiction magazines and were eventually fixed up into a novel. Most influential among the stories are Asimov's 3 Laws of Robotics and the idea of a positronic brain. This first book and the many sequels and short stories explore from many angles the potential conflicts that arise because of the 3 laws and the implication of these laws on humanity, a humanity that artificially intelligent beings, by these laws, cannot harm or through inaction allow harm to come to. Number 12 is The Broken Earth by N.K. Jemisin. Talk about celebrated science fiction series. All 3 books of N.K. Jemisin's Broken Earth trilogy won Hugo Awards. The 5th season, The Obelisk Gate and The Stone Sky, won Hugo Awards, and The Stone Sky also won the Nebula Award in 2018. The setting is very far future Earth. This is an Earth and inhabitants that must endure, survive, and adapt to the seasons. These are not seasons as we know them. They are world-changing, world-wrecking, catastrophic events. The inhabitants of what is referred to as the stillness must try to weather these disasters that can last for generations and then rebuild or re-civilize. N.K. Jemisin's writing at times is unparalleled when it comes to introducing strange worlds and the relationships in them. The books definitely veer toward the fantasy side of science fiction fantasy, and though I'm not always looking for the fantastical elements in my science fiction, the magical system that the author creates is novel and intriguing. Had I planned better, I would have worn this one for the Robot series. Number 11 is Revelation Space by Alistair Reynolds. There's AI in this, so I guess this is okay. I read through the first 3 books and several short stories of the series back to back. I couldn't get enough of it. If only Reynolds could improve on writing characters and dialogue, this would easily be in my top 10. I can overlook characters if everything else is perfect. The series isn't perfect, but it is freaking good. Setting up the Revelation Space universe, this is hundreds of years in the future. There's no faster than light travel, but we do get pretty close, so this means we get to spread out into the galaxy, but not too ridiculously far. This universe hosts warring human factions, lost civilizations, and mysteriously extinct aliens, and an archaeologist obsessed with finding out why, cool and imaginative future tech, time dilation, and loads of other goodies. Book 1, Revelation Space, gets credit for an explosive plot and climax, while also leaving enough meat on the bone to tackle in very strong sequels. One of my favorite books by Reynolds, Chasm City, exists in this universe, but can be read as a standalone. Entering now the top 10, don't expect the excellent Adrian Tchaikovsky Children of Time series or Final Architect novels. I'm only including series that have at least 3 completed books. Number 10 is The Heinous Cycle by Ursula K. Le Guin. The Left Hand of Darkness, The Dispossessed, The Word for World is Forest, The Telling, and other profound novels, novellas, and short stories comprise Ursula K. Le Guin's unparalleled Heinous Cycle novels. Calling this a series or shared universe limits what each individual story accomplishes. Le Guin always delivers strong prose and perfectly paced storytelling, and each story has symbolism and meaning deeper than the plot and climax. The Left Hand of Darkness examines gender in an unusual way and features themes of trust and survival among 2 beings very different from one another as they trek across a dangerous landscape. The Dispossessed presents 2 neighbor worlds, one resembling a capitalistic advanced society and economic system, and another a moon founded by revolutionaries who have maybe built a government-free utopian communalist existence. The Word for World is Forest has colonialism and militarism in its crosshairs, and City of Illusions, presenting post-apocalyptic far future Earth and heavy themes surrounding humanity, the illusory concept of the self, societal conformism, telepathy, manipulation, propaganda, and more. Number 9 is Book of the New Sun by Gene Wolfe. Intriguing is an understatement for this one. The Book of the New Sun is trippy, confusing, otherworldly, and intense. This begins with the first book, The Shadow of the Torturer. Main character Severian is an apprentice in the Torturers Guild. He's raised in this environment since childhood. Don't even try to get inside of that head. Or do. Do try getting in there. That's part of the mystery and, dare I say, the fun of the book. Severian takes pity on a woman who he becomes close with, and she's about to be tortured. He allows her to kill herself to spare her the suffering. This is a big no-no, and Severian is banished from the guild, left to wander this dark and very unsettling world. Book 1 follows Severian as he journeys through the city of Nexus and introduces us to some wild and, again, confusing characters along the way. This is a series where the books really need to be read back to back. It requires all sides of your brain, and if you're good with puzzles and you have a decent memory, you'll probably do okay with this one. This is set millions of years in the future. The sun is dying, and we are seeing the world through Severian's eyes. These eyes are, let's just say, not the most reliable when it comes to finding any certainty around unfolding events in the world in which the events are unfolding. At number 8 is the Theverkozigan Saga by Lois McMaster. Behold, 4 books aren't enough for you? How about 20 plus stories? The Theverkozigan series is gigantic. It's fun, it's episodic, it's space opera, military science fiction, adventure. There's great characters, action, tension, and climax. I really like about this series that you can jump in and out of it almost at any point, and you can read it in almost any order. The series is set very far future, and humans have colonized many planets throughout the galaxy, and one way to get around is wormholes. The main characters are the Theverkozigans, and most, dare I say, lovable is Miles Theverkozigan. Miles, despite an at first glance, if you didn't know him, meek stature, is cunning, charming, and street smart, and he succeeds because of it. It is extremely easy to get lost in his adventures. Points of view throughout the series will swap to different members of this family, primarily his parents, Aryl Theverkozigan and Cordelia Naismith. The Theverkozigans hold positions of high esteem and influence on their homeworld and are important throughout the universe. My soundbite on this: episodic space opera with characters that you will really want to spend time with. Ask me in the comments for tips on where to start with this series. Number 7 is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. In Red Rising, main character, 16-year-old, uneducated, brilliant Darrow is a Red. Reds are the lowest caste in a future Mars society. Darrow is a helldiver. This means he, like other Reds, does the dirty work that's beneath those of the higher color-coded castes. The Reds put their heads down and do the work because they are, as far as they know or are told, the pioneers building a better Mars for everybody. Events conspire to reveal to Darrow that it's all a big lie. Enlisting tools of deception, body enhancements, and other tactics, Darrow seeks to infiltrate and destroy the top caste golds, and the action builds from there. The series is action-packed. It's a series of vast scope, tension, epic and fantastic war, dystopian world building, and very unique characters. The sequels, Golden Sun and Morning Star, perfectly advance the revolution, Darrow's evolution, and even exceed the original in complexity, tension, and drama, and more of our future solar system. Definitely read these first 3 and then the next sequels, Iron Gold and Dark Ages. Each book is so good and brings something else to the table. It's the type of series where any one of the books could end up as your favorite. There are also 2 new books coming out in 2023. Speaking of wearing the wrong shirt at the wrong time, number 6 is the Sprawl series by William Gibson. Most well-known in this series is Neuromancer. Protagonist Case is a hacker with a pretty crappy life. Most immediately, he suffers the consequences of stealing from a previous employer. Enter Armitage, a former military agent of some esteem. Acting under the influence of an advanced AI, Wintermute, Armitage recruits Case and a team of misfits, including Molly, a badass brawler, and Riviera, a master of holograms. Wintermute has a cure for what ails Case, and the team embarks on an unusual adventure through the Matrix to locate, hack, and perhaps release another powerful artificial intelligence. In the sequels, Count Zero and Mona Lisa Overdrive, cyberpunk themes, cyberspace, and some of the same corporate players remain familiar. There are more layers of corruption, greed, and manipulation, and new characters are introduced, including one who can access and enter cyberspace without needing a computer. Count Zero diverts a bit from Neuromancer, both in characters and plot, but Mona Lisa Overdrive brings it all back together with a hugely satisfying climax. The best place to start the series is the short story collection, Burning Chrome. Number 5 is the Hyperion Cantos by Dan Simmons. This could easily be number 1 on the list, but so could the rest of the top 5. Maybe I'm dinging it for only being 4 books. The standouts are the first 2 books, Hyperion and Fall of Hyperion. Hyperion begins with a number of characters trekking to the strange world Hyperion on a pilgrimage to visit the mysterious time tombs. These structures, surrounded by an entropy field, are moving backwards through time. The story slowly reveals each character's connection to the terrifying blade-covered creature, the Shrike, that moves through space and time, impacting each pilgrim's lives. Very appealing in the first book is the use of several subgenres of science fiction, including horror, cyberpunk, space opera, and military science fiction. More so than any of the other series on this list, the first 2 books need to be read together as if one complete book. I think I finally got my t-shirting done right this time, and just in time for number 4, it's Dune by Frank Herbert. While my heart tells me this is probably really my number 5 or 6 series, I've read this series so many times and it's such an accomplishment, it's not unfair to celebrate it at number 4. I'm also giving this a nod because of all of the series on this list, I've read these the most and the most recently, and that has to count for something. Dune is a great book, but its brilliance isn't fully recognized without reading what comes after. Herbert's world building is astonishing, and the scope of the series is breathtaking. More than any other novel or series that I've read, Herbert creates characters through whom, by their existence and evolution, are imagining the implications of ultimate power, what it looks like, what it means in the present, and for the future. Getting back to the original, Dune is the story of Paul Atreides, who ends up on the planet Arrakis because the Emperor appoints his father, the Duke, to be steward of the desert planet. Arrakis is significant because it is the origin of the coveted spice melange, a drug that imbues users with things like prescience and the ability to navigate faster than light speed travel and the folding of space. Melange is a byproduct of the giant, terrifying swallow machines and one-bite megaworms that roam the sandy depths of the desert. The focus of the story is Paul and his coming of age, which just might reveal that he is the one who the legends spoke of, Muad'Dib, who would lead the desert dweller Fremen in revolution. As great a character Herbert gives us with Paul, the author's true brilliance is revealed when we meet characters that appear in the sequels, most especially Paul's son Leto. Through Leto, we gain the examinations of charismatic leaders, heroes and power, time binding, and the full realization of the series' message. Number 3 is the Culture series by Ian M. Banks. If I could boil all of the books of this stellar series to one common constant theme, it would be the struggle that the idealistic, advanced, manipulative, AI-dominated beings of the Culture navigate with other unique civilizations. Not everybody shares the Culture way of doing things or pursues the same goal or destiny. The Culture refers to a civilization of 7-ish evolved federated humanoid species organized thousands of years ago. The setting of space heavily influences the plot. The Culture universe is mostly post-human, post-scarcity. Consider Phlebas is the first book both chronologically and by publication. But what's great about this series is the books all mostly stand alone and are separated by decades or centuries, which is great because I most often, when recommending this series, will point folks to starting with the best of the series, Player of Games, or Accession. Number 2 is the Foundation series by Isaac Asimov. I cheated a little bit on this one. Foundation always ends up number 1 on my list, and it's probably appropriate for it to be number 1 here, but I'll use as my excuse that it's been so long since I read Foundation's Edge and the 2 prequel novels that I've got to wait until I've read those entries again as an adult before granting it the top spot. In Foundation, Harry Seldon, the creator of the predictive science of psychohistory, sets up foundations at either end of the galaxy and through prophetic strategies helps shepherd the galaxy through the end of decline and eventual fall of the Galactic Empire and hasten the period that is expected to become the Dark Ages. Both the instances of prophecy and the instances not predicted make this one of the most imaginative, thrilling, dazzling, and brilliant series of all time. Don't come to this expecting interesting characters. This isn't about individual characters. It's about the ideas. And my number one series of all time, it's the Ender's series, the Ender Game series, the Ender Saga, Ender's Shadow series, all rolled together by Orson Card, including the full Ender series and Ender Shadow series. I'm ranking this number one today because of the number of 5-star reads in this. There's Ender's Game, its sequels, Speaker for the Dead, Xenocide, Children of the Mind, and the Shadow series books, Ender's Shadow and Shadow of the Hegemon. These were all 5-star reads. The most famous of the series is, of course, Ender's Game, where genius children are recruited in Earth's war against the alien buggers. Because the buggers have taken everything that we can throw at them, we have to think outside the box. The military monitors evaluates, recruits these children, and then sends them to battle school where they're tested through zero-G laser tag type skirmishes in hopes of finding a leader. Maybe lonely, bullied genius Ender Wiggin will be that future commander, the one to lead us to victory. The sequel, Speaker for the Dead, delivers something entirely new. Following the Bugger War, Ender has taken to the stars and has landed on the planet Lusitania. The story is set 3,000 years into the future, and due to time dilation associated with faster-than-light travel, Ender is no longer a boy, but an aged and hardened 35-year-old man. Ender is now a Speaker for the Dead, one who thoroughly investigates and deeply eulogizes the recently deceased. The full series spans the universe and presents very interesting takes on light-speed travel, time dilation, culture, politics, artificial intelligence, and more. Thank you for watching. I'm Michael Leverts, and this is Fit to be Read.